shapes, and in this video we're going to use those shapes to interact with each other to design or draw more complex shapes. So, taking from what we learned in the previous video, we're going to draw a couple of shapes really quickly. As I draw them, feel free to pause when you need to, and then duplicate what I do as I do it so that you can follow along. So we're going to start by using our rectangle corner to corner, and we're going to draw a rectangle. Again, I'm making sure my grid snap, ortho, planar, and O snaps are on. I'm specifically using end, and I'm using mid and center for today. So I'm drawing a rectangle. I'm going to start from anyway, and I'm drawing a rectangle that is 60 millimeters by 120 millimeters. So there's my shape. Now I'm going to draw a circle from center to radius. I prefer to always draw diameters instead of radiuses. It's just easier for me because I usually design functional parts, which means I need to make a hole that fits a 5mm bolt or an 8mm bolt. So it's easier for me to define a 8mm diameter hole than it is to define, and remember, I need to do a 4mm radius for an 8mm hole. That's just how I design. So I'm going to start from the midpoint there, and I'm going to drag out, and I'm going to draw this circle with a diameter. Make sure you click the word diameter there, and it's saying diameter here, with a diameter of 30. And I'm going to draw a second circle down here on that midpoint with a diameter of 30 again. So I have these two shapes. Now, because I turned on my planar, if I check my other viewports, you'll see they are on the same level. They're on the same plane. All right, I'm going to maximize my top viewport again. I'm going to have these shapes interact. Now, how do I do that? I'm actually going to use this circle to cut this part of the line out. And similarly, I'm going to use this rectangle to cut this part of the circle away, because I want to draw one complex shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my trim tool, which is over here. So I'm going to click on the trim tool, and it'll tell me select cutting objects. Select the thing you want to cut with. So I'm going to select this circle. Now I don't have to hold anything down while I select the other objects as well. You'll see there, keep selecting and press enter when you're done. So I select the second circle and I press enter because I'm done. And now on my command line, it says select objects to trim. All right, fine. That's this line there. So I click it, and it disappears. It's gone. It's like the equivalent of deleting, but only that section of the line. And I do the same thing for this section down there. And when I'm done, I hit enter, or I right-click, and it completes my trim action. Now you'll see it's now split that line into two separate pieces. All right, that's fairly handy. Now I want to do the same thing again, but I want to show you the quick approach where I don't have to make multiple selections first. I'm going to go ahead and select everything, and I'm going to say trim. And now I can click on anything I want to, and it'll be trimmed off. Nice and simple. I hit enter when I'm done, or hit my right-click button, and I'm good to go. But you'll see these are all still separate pieces. I want this to be one whole line, multi-line section. So how do I do this? I would like to join those together. Now, all I have to do is I select my join. You'll see there's a puzzle piece there. That's my join tool. I select my join tool, and it says select objects for join, curves, surfaces, polysurface. All of those can work. It can join them for me. So I'm going to go ahead and click this guy and that guy, all of these, and it joined them for me. Now, as it did, I'm going to undo that and show it to you again. I'm going to say join. I'm going to select this and that and this and that. And the moment it realizes these form a closed object, it'll say up there, selected open curves to join, 4 curves joined into one closed curve. Now they're one piece. I can double check that by clicking on object details or object properties and details, and then you'll be able to see it's a valid closed curve. All right. All right, lovely. So how do I break these apart if I wasn't happy with what I got? Simple. I select the object and I say explode. Now it breaks that into its smallest possible parts. You'll see there's a line. It even exploded these two. No, there used to be one part when we started out. Now they're all different line segments. But that's also how I confirm that these actually all touch and come together by joining them, and they form one closed curve. So that's kind of the shape I was after, but I want to go ahead and round these corners. Now, I could now go ahead and say I want to draw another circle, a small one maybe, and move that, Oh, we haven't used that tool yet. I forget. I'm going to use my move tool, which is that one there. I select move. It says select objects to move. I click on this tool there, hit enter, point to move from the top of that circle there. I'm going to turn on the quad from that quad to there. And I want to move the same thing again from that quad to there. And I can now go ahead and do the whole trim process if I wanted to. So trim and cut there and do that. But that's a very long process. I'm just going to hit Control Z to get back to here where I was. There's a faster way of doing this, and that's called filleting the edge. Filleting the edge takes a 90-degree or a sharp corner, it doesn't have to be 90, takes a sharp corner and rounds it out with a circle. So I'm going to go ahead and use my fillet tool, which I'll find over here under fillet curves. You'll see there's a whole bunch of tools hidden underneath it, but I'm specifically after the fillet curves tool. So I select that. Now what I need to know first is by how much would I like to fillet? I define the fillet radius for my object. So I click on the radius and I type in 3 and I hit enter. Now it says select first curve, so I'm going to click on that line. Now it says select second curve. Select the second one. And it rounds that corner out with a radius of 3. That was a much faster process than drawing a circle and then trimming parts out of it. I'm going to say Control Z, because I also want to show you what goes wrong if you don't set your fillet radius correctly. If you say fillet and make your fillet radius very low, like 0.01, hit enter. Now if you click on those two, it looks like nothing happened, because I filleted, but nothing happened. Well, it actually did. It was just a ridiculously tiny fillet, so you didn't see it happening. So the first thing to check for, if you try and fillet a curve and it doesn't happen, your fillet radius might be set too low. The second thing that might happen is your fillet radius might be set too high. So I'm going to say change that fillet radius to, let's say, 25. Hit enter. And I'm going to do the same thing again. Ooh, that did not go the way that I wanted it to. You'll see my fillet radius was so large, it exceeded that line section. So it rounded the whole thing out. So I'm going to Control Z. Do that again. Fillet this guy and that guy. And it completely messes up my shape. So that's what happens if your fillet radius is too large. Something to keep an eye on. Always plan by how much you want to fillet, so that you get the result you actually want. Now, purely for interest's sake, you don't have to round out. You could use another action called chamfer. Chamfer cuts at an angle, but with a straight line. So under my tools, under the fillet tool, you'll find chamfer next to it. And again, we can define the chamfer distance before we start. So I'm going to click on distances. I'm going to type in 3, enter, and 3 for my second chamfer distance, because I'm cutting in on 2 different edges. And I click those two, and you'll see it cuts in 3 mil this way and 3 mil that way with a nice 90-degree angle. But it doesn't have to be 90. It could be any angle you want it to be. So I'm going to say Control Z. I'm going to do the same chamfer action again. Where is it? There's my chamfer tool. And I'm going to change the chamfer distance to 3, enter, and 5, enter. Now you'll see that chamfer changes to 5 millimeters in this direction and 3 millimeters in that direction. All right, so to get you a little bit of practice, we're going to say fillet, change the fillet distance to 15, and I want you to go ahead and fillet all of the corners. But again, to work quickly, all you have to do to reactivate the same tool is to right-click, which reactivates the same tool again. I'm going to hit Escape to deactivate the tool. You'll see all I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click, and my fillet tool is active again. So I can select the next 2 edges. Right-click, fillet the next 2 edges. Right-click, and fillet the next 2 edges. Oh, that one was not happy. I believe our fillet radius is too small for that one. That's quite interesting. I'm going to knock it down to 10 and see if it's going to be happy with that one. Yeah, indeed it is. It was not happy with how those two edges came together there because it was just enough to fill it. All right, so I'm going to go back, undo those, and I'm going to say fill it again with a radius of 10. There we go. And you'll see the more you practice and the more you do this, the better you'll get at it. There we go. So that was the complex shape we were after. And we got there by using 2 circles, a rectangle, and a whole lot of fillets. That gives us a nice complex shape. All right, see you in the next video.